This meeting is now called to order. Good evening and welcome to everyone. For roll call, everyone is in attendance except for Councillor Charlton. We'll now take a moment of reflection and respect, please. Thank you. Confirmation of the agenda.
That council adopts the agenda for the special council meeting of April 26th, 2021 as presented.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Barber and Deputy Mayor Andrews. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Okay. We'll move into action items. The first item is report CAO 1421.
That report CAO 1421 respecting insurance services be received as information. And then we've got two options. Option A is that council approve the provision of insurance from May 2021 to May 2022 with Marsh Canada Limited in the amount of $196,685 excluding HST, and further that council considers suspending the procedural policies to proceed with 3 readings of the bylaw 2821 to enter into an agreement with Marsh Canada Limited. And option B, that council approve the provision of insurance from May 2021 to May 2022 with the Frank Cowan Company in the amount of $267,225 excluding HST, and further that council considers suspending the procedural policies to proceed with 3 readings of the bylaw 2821 to enter into an agreement with Frank Cowan Company.
Thank you. I need someone to move and someone to second, please. Councillor Oslach and Deputy Mayor Andrews. Andy, would you like to give any further information about this report, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just at a high level, thanks for coming in on a special meeting date. I hate to do this to council and bring you in for so many special meetings, but this is one we really need insurance before May the 1st. I'd also like to thank the team of directors for helping with this report. A lot of the ideas around what we were going to do to try to address insurance came from really a brainstorming session that we had, Heather, Josh, and Rob and myself. So we came out kind of, I ended up doing a lot of the legwork to bring options before council, but without their kind of support and ideas, it wouldn't have been possible. We have 2 options before council. The only option is that you can't do is not appoint somebody to be our insurer, because we need somebody to be our insurer. And so the one option is Marsh Canada, which is 196 for this year, and well, for the next year of the contract. And the other is Frank Cowan, who's our current, which would be a higher amount. So staff are recommending the lower amount, the option A. And with that, I'll try to answer any questions council might have.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Andy, I'm assuming that that staff has done a comprehensive review of both of the contracts. Are we pretty confident that we're dealing apples to apples?
Good question, Councillor Barber. There are some minor differences, but both of them will be very adequate insurance for the municipality. So there's some benefits of Marsh, and then there's some different benefits of Frank Cowan, but altogether they're both good insurance packages for the municipality.
Councillor Oslach.
Yes, Your Worship. To Andy, how come there's so much difference?
Through you, Your Worship. So one of the challenges that we had with our insurance portfolio is that and it's related to what Council changed on April 12th, was we were sending forward a lot of minor claims where it might have been more effective just to settle them ourselves. And so we have a very high kind of claim payout ratio. And that kind of impacts us when you're with the same firm, but we did provide all the same information to Marsh as well. So Marsh had all the information that Frank Cowan had. It was just going out to market and getting a second quote and a second look at our operations. And I mean, of the two insurance providers, I would say Frank Cowan is maybe the Coca-Cola of municipal insurance, and Marsh, they're a great insurer, but maybe they're the RC Cola, which is good enough for us.
Further to that, is Marsh more Western Canada? I don't know. Are they located in Ontario or Western Canada?
Yeah, no, their main office is in Toronto. They were formerly JLT Insurance, and now they're Marsh. But there's a lot of offices in London and in Toronto too as well. And they also provide insurance to several other Elgin County municipalities. Malahide, for instance, uses Marsh.
Maybe we should use them at the authority too, because we use Cowan at the authority. And we had a major increase this year.
Councillor Barber, did you have your hand up?
Thanks, Your Worship. Yes, I did. Two questions for Andy, if I may. Marsh is about 45% of the contract to the insurance business for municipalities, according to their preamble. If we choose to go with them at this particular time, I thought within the body of the contract, it said that the term was into 2023. In other words, a 2-year contract. Did I read that correctly? And if so, or even if I didn't, will staff have an opportunity over the next period of time to be reviewing the deductible amounts and perhaps reconsideration on those levels in the future?
Through Your Worship, those are great questions as well. You are correct, and that's what they quoted us was for a 2-year, with the next year essentially going up. I believe it was around 10 or 18, between $10,000 and $15,000 increase next year. So certainly if they're willing to stick to those terms, that's a fair increase for next year. It would still actually bring us in under what our budget is for this year. So it would have no budgetary impact for the next 2 years for our insurance, which would be a very good situation for us to be in. Right now, we're one of probably the only municipality I'm aware of that would come in under budget this year for insurance. So it is a good situation to be in. Sorry, the other portion of your question was?
The potential review of deductibles to see if there's any value in changing them.
Yeah, so we're going to spend more time talking with them about our deductibles, but I would like to increase them slightly because the lower the deductible, the higher amount you pay. Now, some insurance companies will do that as part of the kind of overall larger review, so there could be a savings next year related to that.
And just to follow up, if I may, Marsh, are proposing to do a risk assessment for the municipality. Would that be of any benefit?
Through your worship, there's always a benefit to taking them up on all their efforts, because if you go through all the processes, yes, it's work for the municipality, but it also impacts your renewal rates. So producing all the policies and following everything, they evaluate that throughout the year of the contract. So risk assessment, any tools or processes that they'd like to go through, will undertake.
Thank you.
Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Andy, so all of these assessments and things, is that included in the cost of the insurance? Because it's quite extensive what they said they would go through. So I was just checking on that. And so Marsh is a broker, is that correct?
No, through your worship, they're not actually a broker. We'd be dealing directly with the insurer. But there are some files with Frank Cowan that are still ongoing through litigation. So Frank Cowan would still be involved in those until the outcome.
Okay, that was my next question, was how does that work with the oh my goodness, the claims that are in process at the moment. So thank you.
Okay, are there any further questions or comments? So basically, we have to choose between option A and option B, and so it's entirely up to council which way you want to go. Councillor Barber?
$70,000 is a lot of money to leave on the table. Although I'm sure all of council would prefer to deal with a local broker, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
So am I seeing, oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor Andrews, did you have a comment?
No, thank you, Your Worship. No, I think it makes perfect sense to go with the lowest provider, providing that all the provisions are the same and that we aren't going to be facing extreme increases, next year, the year after. But I mean, $70,000 is more than a tax point. So I think we have to do that, providing everything's the same.
Right. Are there any further comments about this? Is everyone on board with option A then?
Yes.
So Josh, would you mind rereading this resolution, please?
Certainly, through you, Your Worship, had this moved by Councillor Oslech, seconded by Deputy Mayor Andrews, that report CAO 1421 respecting insurance services be received as information, and that council approve the provision of insurance from May 2021 to May 2022 with Marsh Canada Limited in the amount of $196,685, excluding HST, and further that council consider suspending the procedural policies to proceed with 3 readings of the bylaw 2821 to enter into an agreement with Marsh Canada Limited.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. The next item up is report OPNS 0921.
That report OPNS 0921 entitled Intermittent Sand Filter Media Replacement be received as information, and that council accept the quotation from Anthrafilter Limited and award the work to complete the removal and replacement of the top lift of filter media sand at the sewage treatment lagoons.
Okay, thank you. Someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Ham and Councillor Barber. Rob, did you want to give any further information about this report?
Yes, Your Worship, if I could. And thank you very much for allowing me to be tonight a part of tonight's special meeting as well. As you know, we're working quickly out there, and this is one of the things that I'd like to see us tackle sooner rather than later. Their sand filters are kind of important. So as council is aware, that top lift of media, the sand at the sewage treatment lagoons and the intermittent filter beds needs to be replaced. I did include a picture in the report so council can kind of see the existing status of those filter beds. That was taken last fall, And you can see there's a considerable amount of organic growth and grass seed and weeds. And what we did last year is every 2 weeks when we switched from one cell to the next cell to the next cell, those were rototillered. They had to be rototilled every time that we switched. So that growth is after we've worked it all year long to try and break up that material. So the couple of things I'd like to just to go through with council, if I could. I'm usually a stickler for the specifications. If there's a spec for a material out there, that's usually where, it's mostly where I tend to go. But in this case, I'm not. And I thought it was sort of important to run through those reasons with council. And I've listed them sort of in the report there. The biggest reason I could see, regardless of the material that we chose, and whether it was the option 1 sand or the option 2 sand being the cheaper sand, intermittent sand filters, it appears that the best practice is simply to remove that top lift of sand about every 10 or 15 years. So unlike, let's say, a treatment plant where you could put in that high quality sand, you have the opportunity of a plant to backwash that sand to keep it clean, and you'd want to get the most robust, long-lasting filter media that you could. In this case, with those sand filters, it's more organic growth on the top is more of an influencer than the type of sand material that's in there. So for that reason, I'm kind of recommending that we move to the high content silica sand rather than that more expensive sand. The other reason is the sand, that high content silica sand, when we've done some research and we sent some samples away, it's a better quality sand than what was originally placed. So, and we've gotten 10 to 15 years out of that original sand. So there's no reason that this stuff won't last just as long and do just as good a job for us, I believe. And you can see the price difference is substantially less. We had Aqua reach out to the 2 main suppliers, the people that do this work, and got the prices. And you can see that we're recommending that option 2 sand, that high silica sand, and the contractor is Anthra Filter to do the work. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Rob. Are there any questions for Rob? Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Worship. To Rob, we talked last week about the amount of fill that was taken off and what Aqua was working with, 18 inches compared to 12 inches. Are council assured that 18 inches is going back on, or is it a 12-inch cover that's going back on?
That's a good question, Councillor Barber, and I should have included that in a report. You're right. The Aqua letter talks about taking 12 inches out and putting 18 inches back. The reason we're putting 18 inches back is some time ago, about 5 years ago, the town decided to already take 6 inches off the top. So 6 inches has already been removed, and we should replace it up to the original level. I should have included that in my report as well.
Thanks, Rob.
Are there any further questions or comments? Councillor Oslach.
Yes, Your Worship. To Rob, when this pandemic is all over with, who knows when, but I would appreciate council, you taking council out and showing the lagoons and the sand filters and the whole operation out there. Because a lot of the councillors have never visited the lagoons or the sand filter or the workings of the lagoons.
Certainly, Your Worship, I agree with Councillor Oslach. It's really beneficial if you can see it firsthand, to see some of our pump stations, some of our water tower, some of our treatment lagoons. That way, it's not just words on a paper. You actually visualize, oh, that's the pump that Rob's talking about. I'm not sure. Hopefully I get everyone's interest to go to the lagoons.
Thank you, Rob.
I've been out there a dozen times over the last 8 or 9 years, but I'm quite versed in the lagoons and the whole process of it. But I think it would be a good idea for council to have a tour when this pandemic's over with.
I would agree.
Okay, are there any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. The next item up is suspend procedural policies.
Council suspends the procedural policies to proceed with three readings of bylaw 2821, being a bylaw to authorize the signing of an agreement between the Corporation of the Town of Elmer and Marsh Canada Limited for the provision of insurance from May 2021 to May 2022.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Ham and Councillor Chapman. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Next item up is third reading.
That council gives three readings to bylaw 2821, being a bylaw to authorize the signing of an agreement between the Corporation of the Town of Elmer and Marsh Canada Limited for the provision of insurance from May 2021 to May 2022.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Chapman and Deputy Mayor Andrews. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. There's no reason for a meeting close to the public this evening. So the next resolution is for adjournment.
That council do now adjourn at 7:20 p.m.
Someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Ham and Councillor Chapman, questions or comments? All those in favor? And that's carried. And thanks everyone for coming this evening, joining us this evening. And thanks to staff as well. Have a good evening, everyone.
Have a good evening.
This conference is no longer
Night.
being recorded.
Good night. Thanks a lot.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.